we now have the presentation from Auckland Light Rail Limited, the update. We have Tommy Parker, Sarah Azam, Ruth Stokes coming up, and we also have Megan Tyler online for any questions later on. And we understand, Tommy, that you're a bit time constrained here, but hopefully be able to cover everything and answer a few questions in the 30 odd minutes that remain. Thank you.
If it goes over 10 minutes or so, I'm happy to answer the questions. So, yeah, kia ora tātou, good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. Ko Tommy Parker, toko anoa, ko te Tumuaki o Auckland Light Rail aho. So I'm the CEO of Auckland Light Rail Limited, and it's my pleasure to come and talk to you this morning about this exciting city shaping project. So, go further, faster. The project's all around about getting people around the city. And we all want a more mobile city that's easier, faster and safer to move around now and in the future. So this project will provide turn up and go level of service, separated from other traffic, so it's reliable with services every 5 minutes, halving travel times to most destinations along the corridor. As you well know, congestion is identified as our city's biggest frustration, and everyone will benefit from the nearly 15,000 fewer cars per hour on the roads, and congestion will ease, and we'll offer travelling alternatives to the communities, which in turn will improve productivity, reduce emissions, and set our city up for a carbon-free future. Nearly 2 years ago, we reviewed the business case and produced a new indicative business case for the project, which gave a strong case, which was supported by Cabinet and shared with the Council last year. Sorry, do I? So this project is another piece in the puzzle in terms of putting together the transport system for a growing city. Tamaki Makaurau's public transport network is a work in progress, but vibrant growing cities need continuous investment. As you know, over the last few decades, made big improvements with the Western Ring Route being completed, busways, shared paths, walking and cycling, City Rail Link, and the Eastern Busway coming on stream shortly. And this next project, the Light Rail Link, complements those and helps complete the system. In particular, this project looks to connect with future Waitemata Harbour Crossing and future lines to serve the northwest. This project will be a step change in customer experience, as well as turn up and go levels of service. We will also see quality interchanges between the different services that will give seamless journeys across the city. And this will help contribute to a better connected city. So this project supports your vision for a quality, compact city, well served by public transport. We need to do a quality job in managing positive growth. But the benefit of this route is that it enables the growth where you want to see it, in the communities of Wesley, Mount Roskill, Onehunga, Dominion Junction, and others, focusing growth around good high levels of public transport. The future light rail stations will be more than just stations, offering connection and amenity that will attract housing, businesses, and shopping to create centres of activity. And this will help reshape our neighbourhoods to be vibrant and better connected. We anticipate, with the indicative business case that we submitted, predicted 66,000 new homes in the corridor by 2051 and 97,000 new jobs over the next 25 years. But I want to reiterate the importance of integration and how we're planning this route. So this, you'll see on the screen, the ATAP approved rapid transit network for the city. The yellow lines is what you were talking about in the last presentation, heavy rail network, blue is the busways, and we're talking about the red lines that complete the network. And the first route is the route from the city centre south to the airport, which I'm talking about today. And now you see how it interconnects with the other services, both rail, but it also connects buses, ferries, and with walking and cycling networks and other rail services. We're looking forward to being part of the integrated plan that's emerging, and we will contribute to that and share the information around that. So for the last 2 years, we've been out and about in your communities, talking to people on the streets, at markets and events. And we've heard strong support for the project and strong desire for a rapid transit network in the city. And that's we've seen particularly strong support amongst younger constituents. That sentiment we've had confirmed to us in recent polling that we've done, and that's been done externally. And the two polls that were done recently, one showed 64% support or neutral, the other 72% were neutral or supportive of light rail in the city. So we believe that confirms that we have a popular mandate to realise this vision. So how are we going to make it happen? Big challenge. So we've got a head of steam, we've got some momentum underway. We've progressed, so from the indicative business case that was confirmed back in January 2022, we brought on board a strong design and engineering team with a lot of capability and a lot of capacity, and we're now working towards confirming the route and station locations, and we hope to confirm those by the middle of this year in order to lodge a notice of requirement and consent the consenting phase. We're also doing a reference design that we hope to be able to take to commercial tender by mid-2024. In parallel with that, we're working closely with Council on the urban opportunities and how we realise the urban opportunities for this project. It's important to reiterate that in the indicative business case, between 60 and 70% of the benefits of this project occurred in urban opportunity and urban uplift. In parallel, we're also running a funding work stream to look at how we can afford this project and how this project can be funded. That work is ongoing, and we will report back to you as that work emerges. Again, I'd note that these mass rapid transit schemes, there are many hundreds of them being developed around the world at the moment. If you look at those, they all generally carry alternative funding tools. And there's a big load of tools in the toolbox, and what we need to do is sift through those and find the right ones for Tamaki Makaurau that will appropriate for this. But given the scale and the impact and the benefits of the scheme is of great interest to investors who are very keen to invest in the project, and given the uplift in property values and opportunities, it is a choice project for alternative funding opportunities that we're looking to investigate. The Cabinet decision to progress also set up governance structure that is totally integrated with the Council and with mana whenua representatives. So governance level, we have sponsors from all the Crown, the Council and mana whenua. And look, we're looking to work with, and have been working very successfully with Council, Ake, Panuku and AT at all levels, from technical level, management and governance, so that this is a totally integrated project. And I'd like to thank the Council for the help of your teams in the work that we've done to date and going forward. So talking to you today, as you heard from Dave in the last presentation, we are reaching the next phase of our consultation, which is helping us to decide on the route and station locations. We have been listening and we have been talking an ongoing consultation for the last 2 years, and we've been getting a lot of feedback, and our philosophy is that we do need to listen, we do need to be open, and we do need to hear the issues, some of which are challenging and some of which are very, very rewarding. So we are continuing, and specifically, or as we move towards the route decision, there's a number of areas where we're looking for particular feedback. This plan shows the northern part of the proposed route. This would be below ground, and this gives us options for station locations that we would like feedback on. Obviously, we're not being below ground, we're not tied to any particular road corridors, but can have flexibility. And the important thing here is that we get the optimum station locations to get the benefits for those communities and those areas. Moving to the second part, which is proposed at grade. And here there are those route options. And as you've just heard, the Onehunga alignment, there are now, we're looking at 2 options. And I'd reiterate that we're in a process of planning, we're in a process of finding the option, and we are under legislation. We need to look at and show that we have looked at all options. So the conversations that we've had with KiwiRail and the work that we've done together and looking at the KiwiRail designation is totally appropriate and what we need to do. And what we've found is that not only is it an option, there may well be benefits for both parties in doing so, in terms of, as you heard, the need for the Avondale Southdown line going forward. And as Dave said, we do the earthworks once, we do it together, and that will, save cost and overhead if we do that collectively. So I think there's great opportunities there. We do need to discuss it with the community. We do need to hear the community, and we are committed to doing that. And we're looking at there's also the IBC option, which was along State Highway 20. That is still being considered, but we want to understand views on all parts of that and all options in that corridor. Similarly, we are talking to the Mangere community and further down around Fivona around options for alignments serving Mangere and the surrounding area. So there's a lot more information on our website. We've got consultation documents, which hopefully you've been able to access. And yeah, as I say, we're all ears and we're looking forward to receiving that feedback. Just a little bit more on some of that. This is the engagement program. You can see pretty comprehensive. Talking to neighbourhood liaison groups, all the elected officials, including your good selves, face-to-face engagement at local markets and events, stakeholder briefings, Auckland-wide digital surveys and awareness, and we will be back to talk to you about that and what we've learned once it's complete. These are the events that we will be present at, as you can see across the whole alignment. And look, we would be very pleased to see you and hear from you at any of those events. So, he waka ake noa. He waka ake noa. We're all in this together. We do want to work with council and your CCOs at all levels. It's going to take a big investment to ensure we maintain our current quality of life and productivity, and we are going to need collectively to make brave decisions to get ahead of the curve and to tackle congestion and protect the future of our city. So we need your support. We want to work with you, with your teams and with your communities. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Right, thanks Tommy and team for that presentation, and we can certainly assist you with those questions. The first one up is Councillor Williamson, then Councillor Filipaina, Fletcher, Fully and the Mayor.
Thank you very much. Can I just get you to flick back to the making this happen slide number 6? It's a time frame, but a time frame about the past, and it goes back with unmarked even years on it back at the beginning, and then somehow 2023 and 24. What's the time frame for the delivery of? Well, I guess the first thing is, how many stages are there now to this project? Because it's changed only recently. The announcement we've heard is the government's changed it to a number of stages over time. What are the stages that are going to happen, and what is the time frame for those?
Yep. Okay, so yeah, I came on board in May 2020, and we set up the team to review the IBC, so the problem statement, and that was submitted to Cabinet in December 21 with a decision made in January 22. to progress to detailed business case. So in this phase, which is all the work pre-construction, we're undertaking the detailed business case, the strategic framework, which is the urban implications, the consenting, and the reference design. So a reference design is a design that could be costed by a contractor. And we're looking to have all that work finished by mid-2024 in order to go to the construction market early 2025. In terms of the staging question, look, we've always been looking at staging options, and we still are, and as we refine the design, we're seeing how we can deliver this. It's very rare for a project of this size to be delivered in one go, so that's what we're working through, and that will come to public middle of this year.
Okay, but if you've done a business case,
Yep.
I'm confident that as part of that business case, you would have looked at what number of stages would be required to fulfil this project, and what would be the time frame you do, because if you don't have time frames, your costs in your business case could explode and kill the whole project. So what is the time frame you've built, and for how many stages?
Okay, so in the indicative business case, when we were comparing between options, we assumed that the whole thing would be built in one go, with the cost over a time frame of 6 to 8 years. What we're saying now is that by building it down into stages, it is possible to improve on that. So we're staying consistent with the business case that we've done, and we're looking at, as we're getting into more refined delivery, opportunities to improve that. So staging is an opportunity to firstly manage the costs, and secondly to bring benefits earlier than might be achieved otherwise.
So I'm probably not making myself clear. How many stages are you now planning, and when will each of those be delivered?
We'll be back to you on that in the middle of this year.
So you don't know though?
Well, there's got different options, and we're assessing those options.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Fletcher. Oh, sorry, Councillor Philippina.
Thank you, Chair. Tēnā koe, Tommy, ngā mihi ki a koe, and to you and your colleagues, tēnā koutou katoa. Look, Tommy, I think you didn't mention Mangere, but further on in your slides when you first started, is Mangere definitely on the route?
Absolutely, Councillor. The importance of connecting, the importance of this area is it connects the communities and those areas of future growth, and connecting them to opportunities and jobs in the future. As we talked about, 97,000 job opportunities. A lot of that's the airport and the city centre. So connecting Mangere to the airport and Mangere to the city centre is absolutely key to the business case. We're now in a conversation really as to how we do that. What are the options? And as I've said in my presentation, the stations are very important. Where we locate them, it's not just a station. These tend to be, quite valuable hubs of future economic activity. So we want to maximise that, and how we do that best is in conversation with the people that live there. So that's our commitment.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make an acknowledgement. Just let me know when I can do that to the staff of the Auckland Light Rail. Just let me know and I can make the acknowledgement. Thank you.
I thought maybe you were wanting a little spur to that Mangere line at one particular road. No?
Well, interesting. I know that that the little spur to Miller Road will be quite good, Chair.
Okay.
But I'll wait.
We'll follow up on that one.
And so I'll do the acknowledgement after Pātai. Kia ora.
Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you, Tommy, and thanks to your team for the presentation. My question is in and around, as you remind us, we're all in this together. And right now, the financial climate for the whole country at the moment is incredibly difficult. So we have the Mayor and Councillor Darby as part of the sponsorship group with Waka Katahi and with Kāinga Ora. Within your board, I'm just really interested to know how it works at a governance level. We've got Shane. Is Shane Ellison still on the board?
Yes, Shane Ellison has joined the board, yes, just recently.
Right. Okay, so in terms of the board, who do you see as understanding and representing the Auckland Council interests within this?
Well, look, it's a great point. So the governance structure is that the council representative is at sponsor level. They set the direction and make the big decisions. Our board is more of a capability level, so with expertise around project delivery, economic development, urban development, consenting. So they keep us honest and on track in terms of the project development. I think the answer to your question is at a sponsor's level.
Yeah, because, I mean, Dame Fran must be aware that, and I can understand, because you said to us that 60% of the funding would be in terms of value uplift. Was I right in hearing that?
That's 60%, about 60 to 70% of the benefits. So when we're doing the economic assessment of a business case, obviously you're looking for the benefits to exceed the costs and give us a positive BCR. And that's the benefits here are located in the uplift and the community opportunity. That doesn't necessarily follow through to cost and funding.
So, you know, we are going to have to be thinking about alternative funding tools and those sort of things. So could you tell me, with the business case, who undertook that and what input did we have in terms of perhaps the Auckland Council perspective?
Well, Megan may want to comment on this. So in terms of the indicative business case, so if you just look at it, the IBC is really the problem statement and outlining, you know, are there potentially more benefits than there are costs? And the answer was very clearly yes. And that depends on us getting the right, the right mix and the benefits in terms of the station design, station locations, which is what we're working through now. Your point around funding now comes in very important in the detailed business case, and we need to submit to Treasury a funding plan that will stack them and show that this is deliverable. And Council are fully involved in those conversations.
So following on from that before Megan speaks, I guess from our experience with CRL, and as those sitting around the table know that I have been arguing for a long time to understand who's going to fund the operational costs. It's not just the capital outlay. I think I'm really just trying to, I don't want to interrogate this too deeply and can't do it here today because of time restraints, but I really want to know that this is being fully factored in, because right now I know the Mayor is in battle mode in terms of central government to get to help council, but in many ways I would really like to know more about who's going to meet the operational costs for the CRL, as well on this. So I want to know that all of these things are being fully factored in. So Megan, can you give us greater insight into the business case?
Through the chair, thanks, Councillor Fletcher. I can't add anything more in terms of detail of the business case. If there's something more that Tommy can give you, he will. Can I just speak to the council aspect of this? So it's very clear that the current council position, which was of course from the last term, was that this council is not going to fund the capital spend cost of this project. As Tommy said, in terms of sponsorship, there are three main parties in the sponsors. It is the government, the council and mana whenua representatives, of which there are three. So council has a role at a governance level. That is the position in terms of funding. The question of operational funding, though, is absolutely right, and was always said in the business case, and the work that will continue is now and into the future, is once it is clear the route and the mode and all of that element, then who is the best operator, and therefore where will the costs lie? So that is a question that is yet to be answered, but council as part of that governance group will be part of those conversations. Also, in terms of some of the alternative funding arrangements that Tommy referenced, the ministry or the government is starting to consider that work. There's been no decision by this council or position on this by this council about that. That work continues, and we will bring it back through the sponsors if there's a need for any decision or position on that. I hope that's helpful.
Councillor Foley.
Kia ora, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I do want to just say thanks as well to Dame Fran, who met with me last year to give me, a more detailed update of what's planned for light rail, in particular for our Manukau ward. and also more recently with Jen Scott and Mary Martin from your staff. So I'm really appreciative of the time that they've taken to, to talk to me about what's happening. However, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, in my previous role as local board chair for Otara Papatoetoe, we've raised often the issue of the transport divide for those of us who live past Mangere, going out to south and then further out to East Auckland. And I'm sure that you're aware that the areas that have least choice in terms of transport are those areas further south. Now, I do understand that the route going out to Manukau and south and east is future-proofed for light rail in the future, possibly, and that there is an alternative that's been proposed for the people of Manukau and further out south in the form of something that's between a bus and a light rail. That's been presented to the local board, over a few years, that those are different options. I want to ask when that is going to come online, so that alternative for the people of Manukau and further out south and east. Kia ora.
Yeah, look, I can't say a date in terms of those specific measures. What I would say, though, is that, part of the planning for an investment of this size is to make sure that the complementary and feeding services are well developed and understood. Because, again, that comes to my main point about, we need to make this work because we need to get the benefits. So we will be working very closely, and are working very closely with Auckland Transport to make sure that the service pattern to feed these services and to bring the system together, piece that jigsaw puzzle together I mentioned, is done effectively and done well. So, and I think that's where we would answer your question in due course.
Kia ora. Thank you, Chair. If I can just, my final comment, though, is not to forget those of us who live past that space, because thousands come from south and from east to work at the airport. It's a really important employment hub for our communities. Kia ora.
Absolutely noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foley. So we've got the Mayor, Councillors Darby, Hill, Walker and Bartley, and then Councillor Philippines doing acknowledgement, and Councillor Lee. And I think you said, Tommy, you could perhaps just extend it another 10, 15 minutes. Is that it, 15 minutes?
Yeah, happy to. Yep.
Yes. Okay, thanks. Then we'll break for lunch. So.
Thanks, Tommy. About 2 or 3 point questions. First of all, you said that growth is where we want it. Actually, we would like more growth in the CBD because we already have unused infrastructure and these people are already here. So that's the first bit. And then the government and these sorts of things have an almost perfect record of overestimating the benefits and underestimating the costs. And yesterday we've got $500 million problem as a result of the CRL with exactly that. The benefits of the increased values of the hubs were heroic in comparison to what we're going to get, and that's already come over as well. So I just want to make sure that how do we know that you're not going to be doing this sort of stuff again with the CRL? Yesterday we saw a report from PwC, which have remanufactured the original reports to get up to a cost-benefit ratio of 2 just by extending the time and reducing the discount rate. And in other words, you can fiddle around with whatever numbers you like to make good results, but you're only fooling yourself in the long term. So I just want to know how carefully you can ensure that we're not going to overestimate the benefits, just to make sure that you've all got a project. And then lastly is, how does, you're going out to the public now for consultation, and if you're offering something for free, everyone loves it, of course. How does that fit with the fact that we're also doing the big joined up transport plan for goods and people? There you go. Thanks, Tommy. I'm sure you're up to it.
Okay, so look, in terms of overestimating or underestimating the benefits and the costs, look at, these big infrastructure projects, the big costs and the big risks, and we have to work very hard to understand those risks, and we need to look clearly, we need, as a nation, as a city, we need to get better at understanding and managing those risks. The route that we're taking, we're trying to be as transparent as we possibly can and share that information so that we're really open as to what benefits we're calculating and how they've been benefited. So we're committed to that, and as I say, stakeholders from council and Auckland Transport are in regular contact in that to understand how we're putting this business case together. Yeah, look, in terms of the transport plan, we're looking to fully share the information, to participate, and to be open, and so that the learnings that we get from the consultation are shared and understood, and hopefully useful for all of us. At the end of the day, we're all after this joined-up network. I totally endorse the need for freight to be there. The work that we've done with Kiwi Rail about getting a combined freight and passenger service has been very useful, very beneficial, and as I say, I think there are some good opportunities there for win-win for that. So we need to plan the city collectively and in an integrated way and make sure that we've thought of everything. And that's what we're aiming to do.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Darby.
Thank you, Tommy. Tommy, I was just reflecting on the CRL. The CRL first started in 1924. That's when it was first conceived. So you're doing well, Tommy. A lot better than that project by many, many decades. Look, we often get in Auckland here, we get bogged down in the costs. We lose sight of the vision and the big dream of connecting better, and you've articulated that reasonably well. You've mentioned the quality compact, the better connected overall, and Auckland Light Rail is part of a much bigger system. It's not a route, it's part of a light rail plan. It fits in with heavy rail, it fits in with bus, it fits in with ferry, walking, cycling, etc. Tommy, as Aucklanders, we tend to kick things out the door pretty quickly. We're brief on having the vision, and then we all become a member of the Cost Accountants Club, and we deal to it, and we make sure things don't proceed. That's the truth of it, to be honest, and that's why the CRL took over 100 years to deliver. We can't keep doing that. Tommy, I want you... I know you're...
Darby, you interrupted me the other day by saying you shouldn't be doing a monologue and going on and ask specific questions. You've just been ramping on without one single question.
Okay, I think... Thank you, Councillor. I think we'll allow Councillor Darby to finish his question. I tell you what, he's not the only one, I can tell you that. But we'll allow Councillor Darby to finish his question. Please go ahead, Councillor Darby.
Maybe I'm just too heavy on the vision and not too much for a cost accountant. But carry on, Tommy. I'd like you to just outline what is that big vision for Auckland that drives this project? What does Auckland look like as this project, the route, unfolds, and then the balance of the network, North Shore, North West, and other layers, and how that fits into the whole system? I want that articulated.
So look, firstly on costs, look, it is a very big number. There's a lot of zeros on the end of the cost, and we do take that very seriously, and we do need to make sure that we're really held to account on the money that we spend. But to come to the question, it's about getting the benefits, and it's about bringing the city together and connecting it up, providing those alternatives, and taking the cars off the road. What we've seen develop as we've done the work, the connection to the North Shore becomes very important, and this opportunity to provide a new public transport spine, which ultimately could go from Albany to the airport, is really quite exciting, with a high level of service, and changing that perception of public transport. Throw away the timetable and it's a turn up and go, and then interchange once CRL's complete. And I've done his work. There'll be regular services on the existing network. If we can interchange with those, high frequency every 5 minutes, then people will be able to get to all corners of the city with 1 or 2 changes, and that's a big prize.
Okay, thank you. We're just mindful that Tommy has to go very shortly, but so we'll get Councillor Lee, Walker and Bartley in, and then Councillor Filipina will finish us up.
Thank you for the presentation. You'll be aware that at this time the council is grappling with a major budgetary problem. I just want to talk about costs, if I may, because news media reports indicate that the cost of the light rail scheme P50 is 14.6 billion at last reporting. A Treasury report suggests that could go to 29.2 billion, and some parliamentarians, perhaps unkindly but understandably, are referring to that as 30 billion. But whatever this thing costs, are we talking about the single line down a tunnel via Sandringham Road now to Auckland International Airport? Is that what this 29.2 billion or the 14.6 billion P50 is costing?
Yeah, so let me just clarify on the cost. So yeah, in the indicative business case, the work that we submitted, we did P50 costings because that was the right number, the right to compare between different options. Just to give you a bit of background, the actual net present value figure of that is around about 9 billion, and we'd included 5.6 billion of contingency in that figure. Now, I personally don't believe that doing a range with a P90 and a P50 when you haven't done a design is appropriate, because all it does is compound risk. Now, Treasury requires that to happen, and they did their work, and they came out with the 29 billion figure. That's not been used in any decision making that we've been a part of. But and I would say, I'm on the record as saying that if it did cost 29 billion, you wouldn't do it, because you wouldn't have a business case. So, that figure is a distraction. We don't know, by the time we complete the reference design and the work that we're doing, we'll have a much better idea. We'll have a far tighter range, and at that point, it is appropriate to have, in my view, it is appropriate to have a range. So that's that. In terms of your other question, yes, the alignment that we're looking at is similar to the IBC. There's been a few refinements that we're working through with the communities, but generally, I think it's important to say, it's obviously the section from Mount Roskill through to the city, as we said, is below ground, and therefore not tied to a particular road corridor. In terms of where the stations are located, that's the consultation that we're undertaking at the moment.
Yes, just in terms of, you use the word mandate to proceed, but with all due respect, I would question that. The last time that the general population has ever been asked by anyone was by the New Zealand Herald, about in 2019, I think, and it said, would you use light rail to Auckland Airport? And I think 13,300 people responded, and the figures were light rail 6%, bus 1%, taxi 2%, drive and park 9%, and train 82%. So in terms of mandate, I am concerned that you don't really have a mandate, and this council really should be the body, along with Auckland Transport, that is consulting with the public as publicly elected people to ascertain the support for this, whatever it is going to cost. It's monumentally expensive. So I just wonder whether, in terms of consultation, whether you'll work with the council, NAT, to actually interact with the public, because they are statutory bodies.
Well, I will just respond to the Herald survey back in 2019, and talking about travelling to the airport. This isn't, the business case that we put together and are now developing isn't about fast route to the airport. It's about connecting the communities along the line and connecting those to opportunities. So, yeah, we've said that only about 4 or 5% actually go from the city centre to the airport. And the average journey time along the line is about 15 minutes. So people are popping on and off. It's very much that kind of urban model. So perhaps that would suggest the difference between that survey and the surveys that we've undertaken more recently.
Just one more question, Mr Parker. I take on board what Councillor Darby said about Aucklanders setting up plans and then criticising them and abandoning them. Well, we had a plan in the Auckland plan that went back 20 years for a heavy rail connection to Auckland International Airport, which would have cost a fraction of what this one is costing and was widely supported. So it's a point worth reflecting on. But we've heard today that despite Light Rail Limited spending some, was it 50 million on consultants so far, hasn't made that much progress in actually building anything. But we heard today that you also have ambitions to run light rail down the Avondale Southdown corridor. Is that in terms of the single line from the city centre, or is that wider ambition, such as the one we're hearing about through secondary sources about you wanting to, or people wanting to use light rail to go to North Shore? What is the big picture? Because we've only got a fraction of it.
Yeah, okay, so look, the ATAP plan is as per the plan there, that there'll be 3 light rail lines, and we've been consistent with that throughout and looking to connect those and plan those jointly. So in terms of going to the shore, we're working with the harbour crossing team to make sure that we're joined up in terms of our assumptions and conclusions, so we could advise you on that. In terms of the Avondale Southdown line, yeah, as I say, we're obliged and need to consult and talk to the public around all the different options for the line that you see there from the city centre through to Auckland Airport. And there is an opportunity to 4-track, put the 4 tracks. So alongside, we're not precluding freight, we're not inhibiting freight in any way. In fact, by doing the earthworks together, we may well be able to do them earlier and get the benefits online earlier. And that's what we're seeking to do. So everything we're doing is working openly with Kiwi Rail and not trying to compete with freight, but more plan collectively for collective outcomes.
Okay, a couple more questions. They've only got a few minutes left here. Councillor Walker and finally Councillor Barley.
Quick question. Could you just turn to the Making This Happen slide?
Slide 6.
Slide 6, I think. Okay, so my question, without really wanting to be bogged down in costs, it looks like sometime in 2024 you've got an investment decision. But prior to that, there's a whole lot of stuff coming up, including notice of requirements and the like, that's costing a huge bundle of money. If the investment button doesn't get pushed, have we wasted a whole lot of effort and money, particularly given the substitute of issues around Kiwi Rail that might well deliver the same outcomes?
Yeah, look, obviously we're putting together the pieces as we progress, and we're sharing that, and we're with oversight and governance to make sure we're on the right track. If you're saying is there a risk that we don't get a positive investment decision, of course there is, but we need to be flexible and respond to that. Look, I would say that in terms of this, there's nothing different from previous major projects I've been part of in this town. This is how you do that, and you need to know what you're planning for, what the community think, how it all fits together, whether it's consentable, before you can make that final decision. But in the meantime, you're building up this bank of knowledge and this understanding that helps inform that decision.
So what's the amount of investment prior to the investment decision?
Sorry, in terms of what sort of investment? In terms of cost?
To the nearest million. Billion. No, a million will do.
I can tell. At the the moment, the scheme's cost for 2 years at 189 million. That includes, and that's what we've been, the funding that we've been given. That includes for some property acquisition as well, though. So yeah, that's the figure that's out there.
Councillor Bartley, final question.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the transparency and I appreciate the engagement work being carried out by Jean Scott and her team. Some people have felt surprised by the Avondale South Down heavy rail option. So I wanted to know, are there going to be any other surprises coming up? I think I've got a sense of where it came from and why now in terms of KiwiRail's presentation. My other question was around, I raise it because I'm concerned about social licence. There seems to be some social licence in regards to light rail, but not in regards to what KiwiRail is proposing. My other question is how seriously will community feedback be taken into consideration? And also, do we have all the information for people to be able to decide what option they support, especially, you know, if we're looking at how many homes are affected in Onehunga, and will this take trucks off Nielsen Street? Because I didn't get a sense that it would, given KiwiRail's presentation saying that you still need some kind of east-west link. So, you know, yeah, just trying to get, is there enough information for people to make a choice? And yeah, is there going to be any more surprises?
Yeah, so look, I apologise if it was a surprise, or if, but look, I think, you know, you can sort of hear from Dave's presentation and ours, the conversation that's been had, the desire to join up the planning and make sure that we're allowing for everything. Once, you know, I'm a strong believer, once we start drawing lines through people's communities, we need to be open and we need to go and talk rather than do it behind closed doors. So that's the decision that we've taken. The feedback is taken very seriously, you know, both good and bad, and you know, challenges. We need to understand that, and it will feed directly into the decision making. I hope there are no surprises. We will be open and show, you know, what we are considering, what we're not considering, and why. And so yeah, I hope there's no more surprises, and hopefully we've given you enough information to help inform. If not, we'll work hard to make sure we get it.
Right, thank you, Councillor Bartley. Councillor Filipaini would like to make the appropriate acknowledgement.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm just going to put my timer on for 1 minute, and hopefully it'll be less than that. Tommy, I just want to acknowledge, and people have been talking around this table around consultation. I want to acknowledge your team for consultation. I can go back to at least 2018 in regards to all this with Minister Twyford, and then we've also had the current Honourable Minister Michael Wood. So I just want to acknowledge all the consultation. I'm glad that it's Waka Kotahi has taken up that consultative process, because I know it's been that the community has been heard. I want to acknowledge also the Māngere Watahuhu Local Board who have been involved in that process, and for us it's going to do that. So with Dame Fran Wild now, with Lee Orton, got 12 seconds. I just want to end up saying, just recently, Tommy, you had Jen, Enon and Mary talk to myself and my colleagues. So thank you so much, and that's my minute. Kia ora.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Filipaini. In light of that acknowledgement, and maybe ask you to move that we accept the update from Auckland Light Rail,
Well,
and seconded by Councillor Fully.
Kia ora.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Okay, with that, I think time, thank you, Tommy and team, to adjourn for lunch, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2:45. We'll maybe look to reconvene at 20 past. For anyone that hasn't bought their lunch, there's a few sandwiches in the councillors' lounge. So we'll meet back at 1:20. Thank you.